When we think about the factors that have a big impact on inflation, two of those are supply and demand. Economics 101 teaches us that if you have more supply and lower demand, prices are going to come down. Reversely or conversely, if you have a lot of demand and not as much supply, prices are going to go up. Rewind back to 2020. The global pandemic really hit both supply and demand hard. We saw thousands of businesses and plants and manufacturers shut down, all hitting the supply side. On the demand side, we had millions of people who lost their jobs, lost their income, and therefore that had a huge impact, negative impact on demand. Now, governments around the world, including the US, poured trillions of dollars of stimulus into the system. And that had a huge impact on demand. People were able to buy things. They were able to continue to live even though they had lost their jobs. So demand has been doing very well. It has recovered strongly. Supply, however, has really continued to struggle as you've got shortages, you've got labor shortages, you've got, on top of that, it's been exacerbated by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which has also caused shortages of energy and food commodities, agricultural commodities. So that's kind of where we are today. Demand has recovered well, supply is still really challenged, and that's why we're seeing inflation. Now, when we think about inflation, it's important that it's not just about high prices. It's also about prices continuing to go up. A good example of that is thinking about the price of a gallon of gasoline. Take a look at this chart. A year ago, a gallon of gas cost about $3.40. Energy and gas prices have gone up a lot. So today, it's about $5 a gallon, almost 50% higher. Now, if a year from now, a price of a gallon of gas is still $5 a gallon, that will actually not increase inflation. That will actually make inflation go lower because there won't be any increase in the price. For inflation to continue to go higher, the price of the gallon of gas would, at the same trajectory, would need to go up to $7.50 a gallon. So, as we think about inflation, we don't think that's the most likely scenario. We do think that gasoline prices and other prices are likely to moderate, as high prices, in a sense, are a cure for themselves. Of course, the Federal Reserve is also working hard to bring inflation down. And as we talked about, there's really two sides to this. There's supply and demand. There's not a lot they can do to help the supply side. And so what they're doing, the tools they use, really help to focus on demand. What they do is they're raising the short-term interest rates. And that trickles through to rates for consumers on things like mortgages, on car payments, on credit card interest rates. And as those go higher, that forces the demand down as it's more expensive to buy a car. It's more expensive to buy something on credit, or more expensive to buy a house. That's going to push demand down. Same for companies. Companies now taking out loans, it will be more expensive to do so, and so they're going to be less inclined to do that. So we do expect inflation to improve, to moderate, because of improvements on the supply side that will take place, as well as demand coming down in response to some higher interest rates. However, before we see that improvement, it's likely that the CPI numbers that get reported each month will go up instead of down. And to understand why that is, take a look at this chart. The annual 12-month CPI number, which was just reported as 8.6%, is made up of 12 underlying monthly CPI numbers. Every month, the oldest one falls off and a new one is added. And as we look at these numbers, we don't know what the new ones are going to be, but we know the ones that are going to be coming off. And so we can see June of 2021, which will come off when June of 2022 is added, was 0.9%. That's pretty high, so it probably means that the new number won't be, if anything, much higher than that, so inflation will not probably go up much. The more challenging time is for the months of July, August, and September when the numbers are 0.5, 0.2, and 0.3. Those are pretty low numbers. So if we see higher inflation numbers, which seems likely, when those numbers fall off and new ones come on, we probably will see the CPI number rise in the months ahead. So in the months ahead, inflation, at least reported inflation, will probably keep going up. Long term, however, we do expect inflation to come down for what the Fed is doing to work, as well as for supply chains to improve.